I don't think it's a very contested opinion that Age of Extinction is a really weird film, and definitely among the lesser of the Bayverse movies. However, I have always had some semblance of a soft spot for it. I don't know if it's just nostalgia, or some particular memory that's escaping me, or just some subconscious appreciation for the designs. But whatever the case, I do have some level of draw to it, and that led me to instantly pre-order the new Age of Extinction Optimus that's coming out this year. And off the back of that, it felt only natural to pick up a copy of Studio Series Age of Extinction Galvatron, which, full transparency, is a design I don't have any care for, but I did hear good things about the toy when it came out. But now that I actually have the figure in hand, does he live up to the hype? I don't know, let's take a look at him. The sculpted detail on this guy is really good, but the proportions, not so much. You know, the actual body, the legs, the head, they're all in really good proportion. I love how bulky this guy looks, and it's really strikingly similar to the CG model, but the arms just let it down so much, I can't ignore these. Now, for the record, these things needed to be this small for the transformation to be as cohesive as it is, but they're a bit distracting. They're so weedy and thin, the forearms are hollow from underneath. Now, this was most likely because of budget constraints of this guy being a Voyager, but in all fairness, I wouldn't have minded this guy being bumped up to leader, you know, just to flatten out and level some of these proportional issues. But as it is, the arms are just a bit But fortunately, I can to a capacity look past it because the rest of the sculpted detail on this guy is really nice. You know, he's covered head to toe in sculpted detail, and none of it feels aimless. It's all very targeted and controlled. I love the way that all of the tubes and lines on the chest lead into that hole in the center. The thighs are a weird highlight for me. They kind of have this ribcage-like detail that I'm a big fan of. And the head is really well sculpted. You know, a lot of Studio Series Bayverse figures I feel don't nail the heads, just because of how detailed they have to be. But this one gets pretty damn close. The mouth is a little indistinct, but other than that, perfection. Even the back has some detail. That's a really nice touch. The colors are also serviceable. It's a Silver Studio Series figure, so if you're familiar with those, dark grey, patches of silver paint, not much else. And that's more an issue of the design, not so much the figure. This is very much how I looked in the film. I do like these little spots of metallic blue and that metallic orange on the chest, but that aside, all that I can say is the paint is clean. I don't really have much thought for it. I think the biggest thing this robot mode gets right is just how clean it is. You know, a lot of the vehicle mode kibble packs itself away quite neatly. The inside out style transformation does lend itself well to that, but yeah, this is just a clean looking guy. There's not too much more to say than that. I like it for what the figure is able to accomplish with it, but I still don't love the design. And I can't really say that I love the accessories either. You know, the main thing that this figure comes with is the hand cannon that he uses in like one scene, and much like the arms, it's just a bit too small. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of detail and the silver paint really helps it stand out cleanly, but I don't find this very inspiring. Nor do I have too much love for the missile pod. It is a good inclusion, especially for the alt mode, but right now it is just a very bland piece of black plastic. It can tab on the arm if you really want it to, but the ideal place to put it is just inside the chest here. I do appreciate that weapon storage. But yeah, accessories wise, this figure ain't doing too much for me, but posing? Oh, that's where we get into the good stuff. The head is on a slightly limited ball joint just because of the sculpt. There's butterfly joints, the shoulders move out standardly and go all the way around. You got bicep swivels, really deep elbows, nothing at the wrists. There's a relatively useful ab crunch above the waist swivel. The hips are a little limited going out to the side, but they can go forward and backwards really well. There's thigh swivels, really deep knees, and some pretty good ankle pivots. The posing on this figure is just really good. You know, he has some really great ranges, the specialty joints that come from the transformation are really helpful, and thanks to those massive feet, he's got a really good stable base. My copy is even pretty solid. The only build quality issue is in the shoulders. For whatever reason, just about every time I transform this figure, the shoulders like to pop off the mushroom pegs. Now, this wouldn't be a huge issue if not for the plastic in the shoulders feeling a little soft. I don't know, whenever these pop off, I just have worries that they're gonna snap. It's not a huge issue, and part of it probably comes down to me being overcautious, but it's probably my biggest critique about the feel of the figure. That is until you get to the transformation, because there is just one part which I'm not a huge fan of there. The actual conversion itself is a really well considered process. It's somewhat of a panel former. I mean, it would kind of have to be with this design, but he kind of turns himself inside out. You know, the important parts of the torso, like the shoulders and head, kind of rock inwards, and then the backpack and the shins close up around him. and that is a really well considered way of doing it, and it makes for a very good cab. But you're left with two major compromises. One, the feet don't really do anything, so they just kind of fold up roughly and sit on the back. And two, with the amount of stuff that you're trying to get together for the cab, it can be very difficult to get tabbed in. Especially getting the shin panels tabbed into what were the butterfly joints in robot mode. It's very important to make sure that the forearms are as close together as they can be for this, or you're gonna have a nightmare trying to get it all tabbed together. But yeah, once you have that done, you're left with the truck mode, which does look really good, except for those feet. You know, this doesn't bother me too much personally. If I let SS102 slide, then this basically doesn't exist. But it is a totally understandable turnoff for the figure. But everything else just works really well in my opinion. You know, the cab is a little panel-liney, but it's fairly ignorable apart from right on top of the wind vane. The actual detail that's revealed on the face of the cab is gorgeous, and I mean gorgeous. This is perfection. I'm not a great lover of this style of truck, but it has managed to pull off perfectly. And even the backside of the cab just manages to clean up really nicely. The feet here are really the only thing that I take issue with. And you know, if that bumps the truck down to a 7 for looks, then fine, but the way that I see it, I'm gonna be looking at this thing from the front, and the feet are gonna be mostly obscured at most times. He's even got some really good weapon storage in this mode, with the cannon tabbing in under the legs, and a little compartment underneath for the rockets, if you choose not to have them on the side. But can I just be real and say what everyone was saying back in 2014? This design would have gone so hard as a version of Motormaster. You know, dark Decepticon truck with a wind vane. Robot mode with basically no distinguishable vehicle parts. It has most of the cues of the guy. I get name reuse, I'm a defender of it, but come on, it was right there. But for now, the Galvatron we have, yeah, it's not too bad. I don't know if he just got a rerun or it was just acquired stock coming back in at where I locally shop, but if this thing is coming back out at the discounted price that I got it for, then it's well worth the pickup. And if you have this thing, then please leave your opinions on it down in the comments, and make sure to leave a like on the video, it really helps out. And be sure to subscribe for the next one. My current plan is for something pretty big, but also a lot of Age of the Prime stuff is due for about the time that would come out, so keep your eyes peeled. Maybe check out my Patreon to see what it is early. And yeah, I'll catch you next time. God, that Age of Extinction Optimus looks so good.